There are literally hundreds of reports in Control, and each report has a lot of options. In this brief video, we're going to look at what some of the typical options are and how you change them and set them, and then how you can save those as default options. There are a lot of different ways you can print reports in Control, but we're really going to focus on the Reports menu up at the top here and look at a couple examples. One of the first one I want to pull up is one of the most commonly used financial one, the financial summary. And I'll open up the report, and anytime you open a report in Sirius, what you have are a series of options that you can set. And we're just going to go through some of the more commonly used ones. The printer is used to specify which printer you're going to print at. And each report can have a default type, and you can name printers such as the invoice printer, the estimate printer, and then if you move from computer to computer, those can change. If you want to change it yourself, you can set it to custom, and then you'll be able to change all of the standard printer options that you might have available in any Windows program. If you're going to email the report, there are a couple of options associated with that. The first is who it's going to, and in some reports that information will be filled in automatically, such as when you're pulling up an invoice, the email will automatically default to the bill to contact for that invoice. Subject, message, and then how are you going to attach the document when you send it? And the most common and the default is to use a PDF to send that. You can expand or collapse these options as I'm doing by clicking on the Show Details, Show Summary buttons. If you want to save that, and almost all the reports can be saved, again, you have different options. You can save reports as PDFs, as Word, as Excel, as Common to Limited. Now, some formats will work better than others. A PDF will look just like it will when you print it. When you go to anything else, a Word document usually looks almost the same, very close. When you start going to Excel or you start talking about data exports, of course, those will look different because the data is not necessarily formatted for that output. Now, reports will have options often that will consist of a number of checkboxes, and so these will change from report to report, but typical options might be how am I going to display it, what am I going to include, what options do I want to show, and these should be self-explanatory, or you can check them and look at the report and see the impact. And then we get into other report-specific options. A lot of reports have dates, and so let's take a look at which options you have when you have dates. And I can choose a time frame for this report, and I have my standard date time frames. And we also have our closeout time frames, which will start the report the last time you closed, the day, week, month, year, and go until the current time. And I can look at previous closeout periods as well, or pull up a list of closeout periods. If you want to specify a custom date range, just choose Custom and choose your date and time here. All right, you then come to some other options. If you're using multi-division accounting and control, you'll typically have a division option here that may not be visible if you're not using divisions. And at this point, I can choose to preview, print, email, or save. And doing either of those, any of those, will take the appropriate action. So I'm going to preview and pull up the report, and that, of course, will let me preview it. Now, I don't have a lot of data in this particular report, but the point is well illustrated regardless. I can save this report by clicking on Save, or if I want to choose one of the other formats, I can print it, I can email, and of course I can close this window when I'm done. Now, if I want to go back into those options without generating the report again through the menu, I can click on the Setup button, and that will open up my options that I can then change. So if I wanted to change the date of this report, for instance, to this month, and then I can re-preview that, and of course I'll have a different set of data. Look very quickly at another commonly used report. I'll come up to Reports, and let's take a look at our sales report. And again, we have a lot of the same options: printer, email, save, some different options for this different report, date, and you'll often have a grouping option So in this case, the first group allows me to choose how I want to group the report. In this case, I'm going to group, normally you'll group these by salesperson. I may be able to limit certain reports to certain employees. And so in this case, I can select which salesperson, and if I'm a particular salesperson, I may just want to view my own report and view only the sales report for me. You can then I'll have, in this case, the second group would refer to a second level of grouping. Some reports will have sorting options. And now, I want to point out this button right here, Save These Settings as the Default. In Reporting Setup, I can go and set the defaults for a report. You can also change them on the fly, but in this instance, it would not be a good idea to do it. And the reason is that this setting saves it for all employees. The default is the default for everyone. So if I was setting it for a specific salesperson and another salesperson were to pull up this report, it would be set to show me and not to show them. Now, there are often options that take advantage of that. Let me go ahead and remove and set it back to select all. And then if I'd made other changes, I could save these settings as the default. Well, that completes this brief video where we've looked at printer dialogues, how to change the options, and how to save the default options.